thank you for being here. Hope you are surviving. Hope you're doing okay in this time of, oh my goodness, isolation like never before. Okay, yes, we can go outside and we can see people, all that kind of stuff. Oh my goodness, without having places to go, without having people to see, it's very easy to lose track of days and times. I actually posted on my personal profile on Facebook. I find myself checking my pillbox several times a day just to remind myself what day it is. I hope you're not going that crazy, but that's really quite weird. All right, so Bev, can you just confirm for me we're still live on Facebook? Can you see it there?
I'm looking now.
Thank you, because okay, good. So today we got another workshop. Hopefully we'll get rid of all the tech issues that we had last time. I'm going to be a little more sensitive, take my time a little bit and not rush, so I can make sure you hear everything. You can see everything that you need to see and all that kind of such. So again, thanks for being here. Glad that you are. And what we're going to do today is explore the Adagio from Spartacus by Aram Khachaturian. I say Khachaturian because I say tuna. All right, if you say tuna, then this guy's name is Khachaturian. So that's just one of those things, you know. So here we are, Adagio from Spartacus. Now, a little bit about Khachaturian himself. He was actually born in 1903 and he died in 1978 in Armenia, which is now known as Georgia. Okay, so he went through that whole Soviet thing. In fact, he became, like many other composers of that time, he became part of what was going on. He was known as a Soviet composer for a while, but he actually got denounced. He actually got kicked out by the party at the same time that Prokofiev did, and even Shostakovich. You know, they all, that the party, I believe, thought that they were writing music that was subservient to what they wanted. So they actually got kicked out of the party. But you may know Khachaturian's music for a couple of things. An amazing piano concerto, but also probably saber dance. The saber dance is from his ballet Gayane, which is just a fabulous just blast on stage. And of course, it's a party piece. Khachaturian didn't like the fact that everyone knew saber dance, and that was his theme tune, so to speak. He said it was like one of the buttons on his shirt. He's got lots of other buttons on his shirts, but that was just one type. And yet he still did it as an encore. Every time he performed and traveled the world, he would always do that as an encore. So couldn't get away from it. What's also interesting, I think, is the fact that it doesn't matter. You know, we geek out about this music. We geek out about these composers and what they did. But like most things in life, family members may be a different story. Now, one of our folk in the DMS, in fact, one of our leaders, Meredith, she actually met Khachaturian's grandson up in Seattle and could not be more disinterested. You know, it's just one of those things that, you know, they live off of their royalties, live off of their income, whatever, but they don't care what they did or why they did it, all that kind of such. This piece of music that we're going to listen to today, from the ballet Spartacus, Khachaturian was actually 50. He was 50 years old when he wrote this, and the plot itself had been around for some time. He'd been thinking about the plot of this this ballet for about 15 years. There was a guy, Volkov, who suggested it to him and kind of wrote the storyline. Khachaturian, he did eventually get to work, and here's a quote here, with a feeling of enormous creative excitement. So much so that he even went to Italy to visit some of the places where Spartacus lived and had trouble and tried to break away from the Romans and such. It was and the slave rebellion. You know, it's the same stories in the film, but like the film, this ballet takes incredible license with the story. We're not just talking about a little variation here and there. We're talking about they just made up their own stuff. Same as in the film, like Amadeus. You know the movie Amadeus about Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart? At the end there, we see Salieri working with him to finish the Requiem Mass. Lots of composers finished Mozart's Requiem. None of them were Salieri. So you just can't believe what you see in Hollywood. And also, according to Khachaturian, you can't believe what's on stage either, because he made half of the story up. So despite that, he actually did win the Lenin Prize in 1954. It was premiered in what is now the Mariinsky Theatre in 56. But it didn't actually come to prominence until 1968, when Yuri Grigoriev did an original choreography to it. So Grigoriev really liked the music, didn't like the actual dance that was put together, so he made up his own. And that's when Spartacus came to the fore, particularly this Adagio. Let's talk about this particular, well, okay, we'll carry on. The piece itself follows the trials and tribulations faced by Spartacus as leader of the slaves against the Romans. The most captivating moment in this entire ballet is in Act 2, when Spartacus actually gets to free one of the slaves, who happens to be his wife, Phrygia. And this piece of music, the Adagio, is their celebration. It's under the moonlight, big moon, and this is when he actually breaks her free, and they can spend some time together and run away. And of course, there's like most stories, there's a little bit of scared moments going on when they think they're getting chased and they have to run around, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of tension going on as well. But generally, this is Spartacus and Phrygia have finally gotten back together again. They are both now free, and they're just enjoying this moment together. In the music itself, you will hear a very distinct call and response. It's almost like the two characters have their own thing going on. I don't know myself if it's, and in fact most people don't know, if it's Spartacus and Phrygia are the two themes, or if it's Spartacus and Phrygia versus the Romans. But there is that call and response tension going on. And you'll hear it in the orchestral version, the original version, you'll hear it between the strings and the upper woodwinds. Now, while all that's going on, you also hear that the trumpets have something completely different. And to me, that's more like the fanfare of the Roman army coming along. They do play the same kind of offbeat quarter quaver, eighth note movement that you hear at the end of this piece of music, but the trumpets do this all the way through. They do their own thing. The melodic section, the actual melodies themselves are very slightly different in their moods, but you can hear the love theme itself being developed. All right, this is a slushy, romantic, completely cheesy love theme. Anything that you can imagine is as a love theme, this is it. Okay, one of the pinnacles here. And the Adagio itself ends with the strings in the orchestral version coming back to the home key, slowly dying away after one last hug, kiss, romance moment together. There's a bit of a swell, and then it just kind of dies out because they realize, okay, the moon's going to go down, the night's going to be over, we've got to get on with life, we've got to get out of here. And that's how they celebrate their freedom. It's just a night together, a moment together under the moonlight, because she's now free. So that's the composer, Khachaturian. That's the piece of music that we're studying. I do strongly recommend you check out the ballet Spartacus. Even if it's just the Adagio, that's fine. There are plenty of YouTube videos with the dance going on as well. Okay, but let's dive into a performance of this. And it's not very long. And in fact, this version, I don't want to share that. Okay, give me a moment here. I had all this set up so that we wouldn't go through these tech issues. Let me try again. No, it's not coming up. So, okay, we're going to have to do it this way. All right, Bev, can you see the band?
I can.
Okay, good, and let's hope you can hear it. If you can't hear it, let me know. But otherwise, we're just going to start. Okay. I'm sorry, we've already started. You know what? They've got the wrong mood. I've just given you this wonderful expose about the story of this piece of music, the fact that it's romantic, it's moonlight, they're two slaves. One of them has finally managed to free his wife. And then we get a happy-go-lucky, jolly, wump, bum, bo, wump, bum. It's too happy. I don't know. Let's listen to that again. Yeah, it's almost like that introduction is completely disjointed. It doesn't mean anything that's coming next. It's like a 2-bar introduction. It's a little too happy for me. And then we start the piece. Then we do the long, slow moving pieces. Okay, so we do have a community band here. This isn't what they do full time. That flute entry, very beautiful. It's just a little bird that comes in flying over the top, and perhaps that is a bird that appears. I'd love to see a ballet where you actually see a bird with modern technology and the back screens that they use in ballets these days. It would be great to see a bird just fly across the stage when that flute comes in, if that's what it's supposed to mean. It's what it sounds like to me. Obviously, she started way flat and had to bring it up a little bit. Clarinets are doing a fine job. Very, very difficult in any instrument in the band, any wind instrument, and in fact, any string instrument as well. It's very difficult to keep a balance when you have leaps of a fourth or a fifth or more. What tends to happen is you go bum ba dum, bum ba dum. And again, that's not the effect we're creating here. We don't want to do that. We're looking for something smooth, something going over a long line, a melody, a phrase, whatever you want to call it. The lower notes need to be stronger than the higher notes, and then you'll get that balance. Happens anytime, particularly when you have a major sixth leap. The sixth is going to sound, no matter what you do, it's going to be there. It's going to happen. You need to take care of that lower note first. So if they took care of those lower notes, we'd have a much more flowing, maybe a ripple of the ocean or of the water if they're by a lake or something. Then that's what would come across, as opposed to this ba-dum. And it's important there that the flute takes their time. Those grace notes landing on the last note, they do not have to be in time. In fact, they shouldn't be. Start that trill slow, speed up, slow down, and then finish in your own time. It doesn't have to be on the downbeat. Sounds like you ran out of breath there. Okay, very nice. So we had that long scale going all the way up, started in the bassoon, transitioned into the saxophones, finished up with the oboe. The transition between bassoon and saxophone is easy to blend, and you don't really hear it. I think euphoniums are in there as well, which helps. But as soon as that oboe comes in, we're into something new. The way I've heard this done many times is that the first two notes of the oboe are part of that introductory scale that build up to it. And then the last two eighth notes, quavers, are the melody. That's what's coming next. So it's almost like you're just going 3 and then 4 and 1. So it's that 4 and 1, which is the important part. Nice rubato. Cameraman doesn't know what an oboe looks like. Okay, same problem as before. I don't know if you heard that there was actually a flute introduction. There's a whole phrase there in the flute, but you only heard that high note. Do you remember that what I was saying before? The high notes will take care of themselves always. You've got to take care of the lower ones. Whoops, sorry. Okay, and we can make more of that bass line that's in there. It sounds like bass clarinet. We can make more of it because at the moment we're up here. There's a lot of airy-fairy stuff going on. When we, and I've said this before in a previous workshop, whenever you have a soprano line like this oboe and the flute going on here, they need support. They need something. Now this was the first bass entry that we had, or even baritone entry that we had. So we can make more of it and give them something solid to sit on and find that tuning. Nice rubato. Okay, sounds a little too clockwork to me. This eighth note pattern in the clarinets, ba ba ba, is what's driving this piece, and we're not giving the music, the melody, time to breathe. And those quintuplets, there's only 5 notes, it's not 6. Those quintuplets that are not having enough time to express themselves. We're rushing through them in order to find the downbeat together. This is tough. This is really tough. We've got to be flexible. We've got to be able to expand and contract the tempo in this. Using your ears is essential, absolutely essential in this piece of music, and in most slow music. In fact, most music. Okay, and I've just noticed that timp roll in the back, okay? And the reason I didn't hear it is because, again, they're not letting the drum speak. The drum itself will actually resonate. That's all you're doing. When you hit a timp or any drum, you're causing vibrations. You're causing it to resonate at a certain frequency. Let the drum speak. Now, the heads, clearly, the sticks that she's got, they're way too big for what she's trying to do. And the angle of the stick will make a big difference. We're going to get a thumping. We're going to get an actual rhythm going on in this roll. So not only is it too fast, she's not letting the drum speak, but also the angle of the head suggests that she's trying to create a rhythm. Now, in some music, on percussion music, you will see a note and you will see trill above it. Now, of course, in the flute, that's what we heard before, was a trill from one note to the next. In percussion, that usually means a roll, sustained sound, okay? Sometimes though, some composers or publishers write that note as a note itself, and then on the stem, they'll add three lines, 3 or even 4 lines. That means a more specific rhythm. something that's a little more accurate than just a general roll. In this case, we because of the swell, because of the mood that we've got here, it is more of a sighing, more of just being out in the open air. So we want more of the sound and less of a rhythm going on here. Do you have any idea what I'm going to say? All right, let's get home. Time to run home. So we had that wonderful scale, that build up again, which is an exact mirror image of what we heard before. Was there any blending this time? A little bit, but not much. But then it was strictly in tempo. We're starting at the bass. We're running up the scale. Practice your scales. We're running up the scale, and here's the melody starting here. That to me is not music. That's playing notes. All right, you can do that at home. When you're performing, when you're sharing the actual music, the language of emotions, let the emotions come out. You really cannot be effective and communicate the emotion of this piece if you're just going to race through it and just, land where, you get my point. I'm going to endure this again. Hornets are in. Okay. A very typical issue with wind bands is the end of a phrase. Often happens, particularly in the low brass, when you have long notes to hold. Anything a dotted half note, dotted minim, or more. Certainly whole notes. Certainly at the end of a phrase, we take a huge breath, and that means that we take almost, if not a half a beat, almost a whole beat, usually half a beat off. All right, we get in the way, we're doing less work than we should be. That's not the end of the phrase. Yes, you've got to breathe, but we need to learn how to breathe real quick and quietly. The best thing to do, the best way to breathe is in the middle of a phrase when no one else in your section is breathing. That's the best place so that we can keep the sound going. When you start playing as an ensemble, you're taking care of the whole sound, not just your part. Let's go back and see if you can hear that, the way that phrase just suddenly stops, breathe, and then it carries on again. Okay, and again, they didn't take care of that low note. They went straight through from the low note into the top one. So, yeah, you know what? This is also a shortened version of this piece. I've noticed that this is only 5.5 minutes long. I think they've cut out some sections in this, so we shouldn't be at this melody already. I'm going to find another version out there that's a little more with it, I think, to be honest with you. But it's good because we can, if it was perfect, we wouldn't pick up on these things and know what to avoid when we play this coming up soon. Yeah. Did you hear that sliding up to that top note? Not taking care of the bottom note. If you take care of the bottom note, the top note will happen. Yes, you still need to pay attention to it. It's not just going to happen on its own. You still need to make it happen. But you need to pay more attention to the bottom note so you don't get that slide up. I guess it could be artistic. I guess it could be artistic license. That's what they want. Doesn't fit though. Okay. So this is just musical interpretation. The fact that you get that intensity, and there was a nice little crescendo there, not much of one, can make more. I mean, this is so different to what's gone on before. Literally, this is just like, what the heck is going on here? Let us deal with it. Let us get over that. Da 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 dum. And then dig into those heart-wrenching chords. Oh my goodness, they're so meaty. Let's listen to that build up, and then we'll carry on. And now the intensity starts. Okay, we started too piano too soon. I see what they're doing there. Yeah, they're making those three notes after the build-up. They're making those three notes part of the next phrase, which they are kind of, but not really. They are more heart-wrenching, and we do need to calm down. We've had this intense moment of passion, and we need to calm down. It's not going to happen as quickly as that. In the score, it says piano straight away. In some arrangements, you know what? You've got to let us get over that intense moment. Yeah, I don't understand what that was about. That was a descending scale going through, just like we had before, the opposite direction, and it didn't mean anything. It was just plodding along. Now we've got something different going on. This is the tense moment that I spoke about before. So this is the tension building up here. There's something different going on. Heard a twig snap in the wood or something, and are the Romans coming together? So they come in to claim Phrygia back from him. This is the scene where they're hand in hand running along the beach or trying to get out of view, or something like that. This is what I imagine going on here. There are a couple of different versions of the ballet out there that you can see what they think is going on here. There's actually a third character appears as well. Trumpets have got that little fanfare going on. Trombones are doing that racing heartbeat kind of thing. We got the pulse going on in the basses, just building up to something. Okay, and there's an issue there with the horns. A lot of times horns have a later entry than most people. To some extent, some baritones, euphoniums do, but certainly horns usually have a little bit of a sound delay. For crying out loud, they got 32 foot of tubing to get the air through. It's one of a percussionist nightmare. Same with strings. When string players play, there's never an impacting sound. Very, very rarely is there an actual impacting sound. When you hit a drum, it's bang. It's you know exactly where that sound is. Strings is a little different. Horns are usually even later than that. Okay, so we've got to pay attention to what's going on here, so that when you're playing like percussion, you can just delay that moment. It's not strictly where you think it should be. You've got to compensate for the sound delay, and it happened right there with the horns. Right here. I'm not sure if you heard the clarinets. They're doing string pizzicato at that point. I heard one of them, certainly. The second one I was listening for because I heard, in fact, the third one I was listening for because I heard the second one. The first one I missed completely. They're not staccato notes just for the clarinet. They are string pizzicato. Imitate it. Think of that when you're playing it. Here. Now. And again. Where's the crescendo? Okay, do you remember the choppiness that we had at the opening? We're just getting choppiness here. This is just like eighth notes. I'm plonking away here. There's no phrase. There's no long thing going on. There's no theme. There's no destination. This is just plain eighth notes. We want... Okay, I'm guessing by the conductor's posture at that moment that it should have come down a couple of dynamic changes there. I didn't hear it. Did you? It wasn't there. Physically, I saw him do it, and I was just laughing because the flutes look so bored. They haven't played for 10 bars. It's been more than that. But they looked really bored. They were not listening. They're just simply counting what's going on. They're not realizing their contribution to this. And again, if we're not listening, if we don't know what is going on in the music, then we can't contribute even during the silences. Who is it that says that? I don't think it's Lenny Bernstein. I forget who it is, but somebody said that music is made up of the absence of silence. I love that quote, wherever it comes. If somebody can find that out and post it in the Facebook group later, that would be awesome, because the absence of silence, first of all, it focuses you on the silence part. Silence is part of music. And then the actual communication of emotions is when there is no silence. It's still part of it. Okay, quiet. Still choppy. Good job. All right. So they realize they've landed at what we might consider the climax of the piece of music. Everyone's playing. We've got the big melody going on, and that's all awesome. There was no distinction of where that melody started. We had that scale going up. We had the choppy accompaniment going on underneath, and then it just suddenly appeared. We were in the melody. It didn't start. We were in it. Because it came out of nowhere. And again, when you think about where the phrase starts on that beat 4 and that 4 and ba ba ba, then we know what the melody, where the melody is. We know, we've arrived home. It's not like, oh, we're home. No, here we are. Yeah, do you hear in the trumpets? You can hear that top note straight away. They come back down to the lower note, and then what happens? The swell. That horrible swell that happens in so much brass playing. Ba, ba, ba. It's hideous. You've got to take care of this. It's one phrase. The swell, if anything, should be over all 3 notes, not just that last one. Right? Take care of those lower notes, the top ones. Get it in pitch, hit it. Get off of it, come on to the bottom note, and take care of that. Just, it's precious. Okay. And the other thing is, in the trombones, this happens all the time, and I know we've done this a couple of times ourselves. We are putting a break between the swells. The trombones that have the swells, they're the waves of the ocean or the emotions or whatever it is that's going on. They have the swell in those long notes, but we take a huge breath between each one. 4, 1, 2, 3. 4, 1, 2, 3. I mean, it's almost like it stops on 3. The music doesn't do that. The music doesn't stop on 3. It's a dotted half note. It's all part of the same phrase. You should be able to play 4 bars of this in one go, one breath, without stopping, in theory. Now, does that mean that you slur everything? No, not at all. You do need the distinctions, but that's tonguing. That's not breathing. You should not have, if you're losing that much air in one bar, you're not supporting the sound with the diaphragm. This is why we practice our scales and arpeggios over a long period of time, so that we can actually sustain the sound that we're supposed to be doing. Okay, sounds to me like they're not sure who is doing what and where that is happening. Again, we saw some sort of indication of a dynamic change. I think either that or he was about to fall over. But something was supposed to happen and it just didn't. So we've got the clarinets doing one thing. We've got saxophones and baritones doing something else. We've got the flutes doing something else. We've got the trumpets doing something else. And we've got the basses doing something else. Nobody knows what anyone else is doing. This is so disjointed. Just knowing what the other parts are doing is not only very helpful to see how your part fits into it, but it makes up this wonderful melee of sound, which is beautiful to us. You also know where to land. You know what to listen for. You know where the pulse is, where it stretches, where it thins back again. All right, got to pay attention to what's going on around you. We're getting used to isolation right now. We cannot perform in isolation in our sections. Okay, so there we wound down. We should have finished that previous section and phrase before we started the new one. Again, it just went through, just plowed right through it. We've got something different here going on. Okay, nice ending. Could do with a little more bass at the end there. Again, just to finish it, it is a plonk to finish the piece of music, and we were missing that in here. Again, we just plowed right through it. It's a little too choppy for my liking. But you know what, they got from beginning to end, and they've cut out some sections. This is a shortened version, if you like. We are going to listen to the whole thing all the way through. Before we do that, I hope you're enjoying these workshops. The fact that the first workshop that we did, we had over 130 people view the Facebook version. Last week, over 200 views of our workshop, which is awesome. So thank you so much for being here today. I do hope you're getting something out of it. If you are, there are two things you can do. Obviously, go ahead and like and comment on the Facebook side of it if you can, but also please consider donating. Okay, we are, like every other business, we're struggling. We are not, we are carrying on with our business, but we have cancelled all of our events. We've lost our income for a couple of months. Okay, so although I'm doing this because I would normally be rehearsing with you right now, if you can, just send us $5, $10, whatever, just something. If you get something out of these workshops, that would be truly awesome. And that was great as well. The other thing I wanted to say was that about Khachaturian, if you're interested in this composer himself, there's an article in the New York Times when it reported news, when it was reliable, in 1978. That reported the death of Khachaturian, and it's got a wonderful summary of his life and his contribution. So if you want to look that out online, you don't need to subscribe for that. It is available publicly. Donations, what else did I say? Next week, Bev, I don't have the schedule in front of me. Do you have in front of you what piece we're doing next week's workshop?
I sure do. Give me 1 second here.
Okay, cool. Now, while she's looking that up, I'm also interested in taking some questions. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, now is a good time to do that. The best way to do it is to put it in the chat or write a comment, okay? And we're going to keep track, or we're just going to observe look at the chat box, look at the comments on Facebook to see if you actually have any questions about the piece, about the composer, or our review of this particular group. The other thing I wanted to say, we've got 5 more workshops planned, all right, with specific repertoire. We're going to make that list available to you so that if you want your band, because I know we've got a lot of people here who are in other bands, if with 200 views, I can't imagine they're all from DCB players. But if you want your band featured and reviewed, let us know. Send us an email, okay? questions@dunedinmusicsociety.org. And then, we'll take a look and we'll see if it fits as well. All right, so once we make that list public, let us know. Next week, we are going to be looking at
An American Folk Rhapsody, number 1.
Oh, excellent, by Claire Grundman. Thank you very much. Thanks, Bev, for that.
Sure.
So I don't see any questions on the chat in Zoom. Does anyone on Facebook have any questions, comments, concerns?
Well, someone wanted to know, how did you feel this group did with that call and response you talked about earlier?
Again, it wasn't there, was it? They weren't listening. They don't know what each other's doing. I mean, if a group only has a week or a couple of weeks, a couple of rehearsals to put this thing together, I get it, I understand. But they should be aware of what's going on. I mean, that's not something that necessarily is directed. That should be your own interest. This is part of your practice. There's a big difference between practicing and rehearsing. I've said this many times before. Practice is what you do every day. And unfortunately, in middle school and high school, most of us practiced every single day of the week. So that was our practice time. But that's not the real world. When you get out and you rehearse, the rehearsal is when you bring everyone back together and you take what they've been practicing and make it fit. Okay, and give you the whole picture and all that kind of stuff. So during your practice sessions, part of it is not actually physically playing. It's also looking to see or listening and exploring to see what else is going on in the music. So I think the call and response really wasn't there in this particular group.
Stephen, in chat, I sent you another version that I think is not the shortened version. You might want to consider playing that one back in your review here.
Thank you. Oh, yep. Okay. Came across this one as well. Thank you. All right. So we're going to listen to the full version. Hopefully this is the one that matches the parts that you have in your folder if you're following along with the music. And this will be a very different sound. We won't hear the things that we spoke about. That's the only problem with doing this. We're not going to hear what we spoke about before. I'm glad we did that. I'm glad we found things to pick apart and say, this is what you've got to be careful of. This is what you need to focus on for next time. Bev, any other questions on Facebook? Going to take that silence as a no.
No, it's a no.
Okay,
No.
good.
Just trying to unmute.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Bev, thank you. Give Bev a round of applause. Couldn't do this tech stuff without her. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
No problem.
So I'm glad that we did explore a version that perhaps wasn't really very as perfect as we want it to be, so that we can pick apart where the problems are and what to look out for. I haven't listened to this version all the way through, just a few bits and pieces here and there. It will be different. It will be, maybe you can hear some of those things that we spoke about actually being implemented. The other thing is, as I said, if you can donate, that will be awesome. If you want your band featured or another band featured in here for the American Folk Rhapsody next week, let me know in the next couple of days, okay? So thanks for being here. Let's listen to this whole thing. And this is 6 minutes. Got another 30 seconds on this one. All right, here we go. Oh, that was good. That was good. Thanks, Lee, for sharing that one. I'm glad we got that in there. Wow. Okay, well, you know what? As far as I'm concerned, that guy has seen at least a YouTube video of the ballet. He knows the story. He knows what's going on. I think the other chap didn't really understand what the story was and what was going on there. So thrilled that we actually got to experience that one as well. Still a few corners here and there, and not the whole piece. The whole piece is about 9 minutes long. So I hope you enjoyed that one as well. Just a few corners about that one. And yeah, we're bang on 8 o'clock. Look at that. That's awesome. Look forward to seeing you next week. Do spread the word. Do encourage folk to watch, attend, all that kind of such. And I hope you stay safe. All right. It's going to be a rough couple of weeks for everyone. I miss you guys. I'm missing that social part, the introvert. So you take care of yourselves, guys. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.